So far in the course, we've been cloning GitHub repositories, and once we did, we stored them onto our memory drive. Once we're on their memory drive, we can actually open folder and bring them back into PlatformIO. At this point, what we want to do is create brand new code from scratch, which will be our final project for this course. Now, to create a new project, we have to make sure that the little house comes up here, and there's a couple ways to make that happen. We can just click on the head here that initialize PlatformIO core, and when it's finished, we'll have the little house up here. Another way is to actually go to the quick access thing here and just go to open. I'm going to choose to use the little house here, and when we do, we're going to get to the PlatformIO home page here. And what we can do at this point is we can now create a new project, which will be the project for our course. When we click on New Project, it's going to ask for a project name. It's also going to ask us to select a board, and there's 1,552, so we better get the right one. And it's going to ask for our framework. The name we're going to put in is MCO455 Final Project Rev 0. And the reason why it's called Rev 0 is because as you start creating project code, you want to get it to a point where everything's working, and then you want to add new things. Now, if you had 200 lines of code and nothing works, you can't roll back to the previous revision unless you've made a number of different revisions of the code. Second thing is we want to do is select our board, and you type in lowercase ESP-W. And that's enough to bring up the expressive ESP rover kit, which we're going to select. We're going to use the Arduino framework. There's another one here, but we're always going to use Arduino. Then we're going to change our location here to be the location where we actually have our memory stick. So we're going to go here, going to, in my case, go to volumes. We're going to go here to Extreme Pro, and I'm going to go down here to PlatformIO where I have all my programs here, and I'm going to say finish. Now, by doing this, it's going to allow us to work at home and work in the college on that same project and keep adding to the project at home and here. Trust the authors, we're going to say yes. And if we take a look here, our source is going to be just some boilerplate coding here, and the same with PlatformIO.ini. Now, at this point, we're going to take a look at what's going to be involved in the project and how to actually start adding bits of code here. Now, in your lab section under ESP Labs, if you scroll down, you're going to find a couple things here right now. It's ESP project details and project layout. Let's take a look at the project details first. Now, it mentions in here about the final project, and when we press various buttons on our burglar alarm system, various things are going to happen on our LCD. Pressing a 1 is going to put this message up on the LCD, button 2, this message, and so on, with different backgrounds and so forth. So this is what we're going to start with because there's a number of different screens that have to come up. Now, all of these screens that are going to be here are going to be functions. And the functions are going to be void something void, which makes our programming very, very easy. Now, one of the things that you should do is take a look at here, which is the video demo of how your TV remote is supposed to work. This is a demonstration of our final project where it's showing humidity, temperature in Fahrenheit as well as Celsius. And if we happen to press 1, we're going to see alarm arm number 2, alarm off number 4. So we hit 4, it says it's about to turn off, and then it goes back to the original program that's showing humidity, temperature in degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit. We press 1 again. We can now go to 2, which is arming the alarm. And it says, alarm is arming, please leave now. It's counting down on our 4-digit display. And when it hits 0, it's going to say alarm armed motion sensing. And to the left of the 4-digit display, you can see the passive infrared motion detector. If I produce motion, it says intruder detected and flashes. Then it's going to say number 3 to disable the alarm. And then we can hit number 4 to stop, and then it goes back to our original code where it's doing humidity, temperature in degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit. Now that we understand how the project's supposed to work, let's take a look at the project layout. Now, the project layout looks like this. We're going to have a programmer's block. We're going to have an include section, hardware pin configuration, global variable declarations, function prototypes, interrupt service routine, and that's just above our main code here. Then we're going to have local variable declarations, global variable initialization, main loop, and our function definitions down here. Now, as it says, the include section is where the header files for PlatformIO as well as various devices are specified. Hardware pin configuration is where the pins of the ESP are associated with names. In this project, we're going to be using global variables, so there's no need for parameter passing, and all the function prototypes will be of the form void, some name, void. The use of global variables means that any function can access the current value of a global variable and can change it as well. This greatly simplifies programming. It's the only way that it can pass information from the interrupt service chain back to your main line is through global variables. All the stuff from the layout in here, title, author, date, description include. I've changed this to void setup, which it should be. And the thing that we're going to set up in here is our local variable declarations, global variable initialization. And under mainline, which is really void loop, we're going to put in all of our code that's going to then use a whole bunch of functions to call up various features that we need in our program. And after this, we're going to have our function definitions. So we have up here our function prototypes. We're going to use function calls here, and the function definitions for those are here. Now at this point, what we want to do is bring in code from lab number 5 about the LCD. So all we have to do is go up here and say File, add folder to Workspace, go back to where our drive is, PlatformIO.ini, and then just bring in the code. And at this point, we can take a look at our source here, and we have sections of code here that we want to put into this main, because this main has just got boilerplate sort of layout here. So let's take a look at grabbing stuff from here. So here's our include section. So we're just going to include all of this to here. We're going to Control C. We're going to go back up here and look where the include section is here. Just going to come down and paste that in. So we've already got that part done. Let's go to the main here again. And we also want to put in our hardware stuff here, which is this part here. Put that in, Control C again, and let's paste that back into here under hardware pin stuff here. And there we are. And then let's go down again here to see what we have to put in the setup. So we've got a number of things here. We'll just take the whole thing and then we'll get rid of the stuff that we don't really need. So again, Control C, let's go back up into here. In our setup, which is here, we're going to put that stuff in. So let me just jump down here a little bit. And the things that we don't need, we just need the initialization stuff here. The other thing that we're going to need to make any of this work is to make sure that we have our PlatformIO code set up properly. So here's PlatformIO here with the basic boilerplate. We have to go down here and add the stuff that's specific to here. So let's see what's not there. It stops at framework here as Arduino. Let's grab all this stuff here and not worry about any sort of troubleshooting stuff. So we're just going to copy this and we're going to add that to what we've got here. Remove folder from Workspace. Now at this point, let's take a look at just compiling, doing a basic compile, make sure all of our code here is correct. And you can see very quickly it's going to come back with success because it's compiled this. So everything that we need to have in main is here. Everything we need to have in PlatformIO.ini is here. The next step is to actually start adding function prototypes and function definitions and function calls so we can have various screens coming up to our LCD. Now, as you can see from our final project documentation here, we have a number of different messages that have to come up to our LCD. And the first one we're going to call button1 alarm_on. Let's see how we go about doing that inside our project. So up here in our function prototypes, we're just going to say void button1 _alarm_on bracket void and a semicolon. And that's going to be our function prototype for making all that happen. Now, if we want to turn this into a function definition, we grab everything except the semicolon. We copy that, and down here under function prototypes, we paste it in here, and then we put brackets around the actual code that we're going to make it run. And inside the loop here, what we can do is actually just make it go once. So we can basically say copy, paste, and then instead of having the word void in here, all we're going to have to do is just put this here with a semicolon. And what we're going to do at the bottom is say forever, just sit here after you put that up. So the way it should work was when we get our code written in here, it's going to be able to then call up the code, do its thing, and then stop just to have that message come up once. Let's see how we go about putting in the stuff that we need here. So the characters we want to put up here are arm alarm 2. So let's just copy that. And what we're going to do is we have to do some other stuff first. We're going to have to say lcd.print, quote, and then paste that code in here. But the other thing that you got to remember is that there has to be 16 characters altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And that would be perfect. Now, what we want to do is let's duplicate that. Let's copy that. Let's go down here and paste it, make it formatted a little better here. And what we want to do now is get the other message. So we can say alarm off, copy that, go back to here and paste that in. And then we can use what we've got up here to center that properly. And we've got the two messages. But the problem is that we have to do is, first of all, tell where we want that message to be. So we want lcd.set cursor, and we want it on the top row for the first message. So we're going to start that at column 0 and row 0. Then on the second one, and we don't want to type a lot, so we're just going to grab this again, copy that, paste this down here, and then this time we're not going to put it at column 0 and row 0. We're going to put it at column 0 and row 1, so it's on the very next line. Now there's some other things we have to do as well. If we go back and take a look, this has to be on a green background. So let's go up here and make sure we've got that set up properly. You can see lcd.setRGB, and green is going to be no red, all green, and no blue. And let's just try compiling it to make sure it compiles and we haven't typed in anything incorrect, and everything seems perfect. Even though it compiles, there's two small errors on here. One of them is just cosmetic, because sometimes when you space over it leaves a dot. And more importantly over here, you can't have the word void in front of button 1 alarm on. And when you do that, you're going to get nothing coming up the screen except a white screen. So these are the two corrections here that will make this come up perfectly. So when we compile and upload, we're going to see exactly what we expect on the screen. You're going to see ARM alarm number 2, and you're also going to see alarm off number 4 without a dot. And there we go. Now that we have this message coming up once, what we'd like to do is add another message here, and finally we'll put all of them in. But let's see how we go from just having 1 to having 2, and actually have them looping around so we can make sure that all the messages are correct. Now what we've done is we've just duplicated this with a new name here for the function prototypes, button 2 alarm arming void. Down here, we fixed up the mistake with not putting void this time. We've got button 2 alarm arming, which is what is just in the message here for the function call. And down here, what we've done is we've duplicated, copied this and pasted it, put in the 2 new messages here, and just changed the color. And right now, you can see in our main line here, it's just going to print this, delay 2 seconds and print the next one, delay 2 seconds, print the next one in a loop. And so the concept is here, what you want to do is have all your messages up here so you can check them out one after the other to make sure that they're properly going to display. By simply copying and pasting, changing the name, changing the color, and changing the text, you can very quickly create all 8 messages in the function definition section to come up to the screen. For each one of these, you're going to need a function prototype here. And just to check to make sure that they're coming up properly, you can have a test main line that you're going to get rid of later. But for now, you can have each one of these coming up and having a delay of 2 seconds between each one. So you can actually see and make sure that all the messages are coming up cleanly.